It's time now to take a look at stories making headlines on Nigerian newspapers. And I begin with the First News newspaper. More troubles for PDP. Wike, 3 governors meet Tinubu in France, strategize for 2023. More troubles for PDP. Wike, 3 governors meet Tinubu in France, strategize for 2023. You'll find details on the pages of the First News newspaper. To the Punch newspaper now. Presidential race. Tinubu Wike meet in UK. PDP talks wobble. Rivers important for 2023 election victory. Amechi lukewarm presidential candidates men. All right, you find the details on the pages of the Punch newspaper. To the Guardian newspaper now. Wike raises stake, leads PDP governors to meet Tinubu. Obi meets Afenifere leader Adebanjo in Lagos. Find the details on the front page of the Guardian newspaper. To the Vanguard now. 2023, Tinubu meets Wike, 2 PDP governors in London. Seeks horse trading to work against Atiku. Details on the front page of the Vanguard newspaper. To the Daily Trust now. Tinubu Wike's London meeting rattles PDP. Atiku, Rivers governor may work for APC. Soars. All of the details on the pages of, on the front page rather, of the Daily Trust. To the Nation newspaper. PDP crisis. Stop bragging, Lamido tells Wike supporters. Ex-governor faults PDP BOC chairs stand on party leadership. And still talking about the PDP crisis on the front page of the Daily Times now. Arakbaja Mimiko tipped as Ayu's likely replacement as Wike ally governors meet in Paris, London. To the front page of the News Direct. Abacha loot. 3 federal roads to gulp $23.4 million as federal government US signed recovery agreement. And on the front page of this Nigerian newspaper, still talking about the Abacha loot 24 years after, another Abacha $23.4 million loot ready for repatriation as federal government, US seal agreement to send back stolen funds. On the front page of the Tribune, US to repatriate fresh $23 million Abacha loot to Nigeria. This repatriation brings total amount of funds repatriated in this case by the U.S. to more than $334.7 million. U.S. ambassador to Nigeria speaking there. Kelly?
Yes, so the Leadership newspaper gets our focus next. It says broadcast license. Editors Serap sue PMB, MBC stations strive to meet deadline today. And other riders, Radio Kwara, Borno Radio, IBC, ABS meet deadline. Niger ask for extension. That's the Leadership newspaper. And Nature News is next. It says reps invite ministers of finance, power, others over $33 million Azura Power deal. Reps invite ministers of finance, power, others over the $33 million Azura Power deal. That's the Nature News. Blueprint is next. It says how Electoral Offences Commission will stabilize democracy. Yakubu says, that's the INEC chairman, says electoral process reforms incomplete without effective sanctions. That's the main rider of the Blueprint newspaper. And Daily Sun is next. Ballot snatchers, vote buyers, risk 15 years jail terms as reps move against electoral offenders. Ballot snatchers, vote buyers, risk 20 and 15 years jail terms as reps move against electoral offenders. And Business Day is also here. Lagos Ibadan rail haulage stalls. That's Business Day.
All right, let's look at the story on some of the papers this morning. News came up yesterday that the Abacha loot 24 years after another Abacha loot, about $23.4 million was ready for repatriation, and the government and the U.S. signed an agreement on the repatriation. And this has been on for some time now. And it came as some good news in some quarters, and some persons raises concern. Government has said that, okay, this is going to be for, infrastructural projects like the Lagos-Ibadan Expressway, like the second Niger Bridge, like the Abuja-Kano Road, and all of that. But there has been concerns about all that has been returned, because this brings to about $334.7 million US money, US dollars that has been returned so far. But then how can we measure what government has done with all that has been repatriated so far? Concerns of relooting the loot has always been the question. How do we ensure transparency in the usage of these monies to ensure that every kobo is used for the development of the country?
Well, first of all, let me start by saying it's such a shame in the first place that this kind of amount of money was stolen many, many years ago, 24 years ago. One person. In fact, according to reports, in all, I think about 625 million US dollars was stolen or looted or laundered. It's really sad in the first place. I don't know, it's not a good time at all to be a Nigerian, because while we're celebrating and signing and all of that, for me, I'm looking at how is our image outside the shores of this country, that one man was able to do away with this kind of humongous amount of money.
No, he didn't act alone, because if you look at the report,
of course,
it said Abacha and his allies.
Of course, he didn't act alone, but he was at the forefront of it.
He was at the forefront, right.
Of course, we definitely need some other persons to work with and all of that. But I mean, it's really shameful for us. I hope that we don't get to experience this again, because I'm sure
we are still fighting corruption. It's like you are not in Nigeria.
No, of course I am.
Corruption.
I am, but I'm just saying, because now it's 24 years ago.
Because we do not know. You've heard of 80 billion being missing. Let me use the word missing, because the case is still being looked into.
Yes.
We've had a series of termites eating some things, snakes swallowing certain money.
This is the only country where animals eat swallow money. So snakes, rats, and all of that.
24 years after,
yes,
these issues, maybe not in that large amount, right? But we are still seeing corruption going on,
of course,
in this country, under a government that speaks about fighting corruption, because that was one of the issues
one of the mantras,
that this government came up with while coming in.
I remember. So, well, having laid that background, I mean, it's really sad. And we feel that sometimes government would need to communicate better with Nigerians and be very open about your spendings. As you've mentioned, of course, we've had some of these loots. I remember the Bori loot as well, when the government had to enter a tussle with the Delta State government about who should keep what and all.
Yeah.
And, of course, this Lagos-Ibadan Expressway over the years has been gulping millions and millions of dollars. I don't know when, for once, the road is going to be completed. But hopefully, I think the road is better now than what it used to be. We have to give it to this particular administration. It's better now.
You can't take that away.
So we can't take it. We can't take that away from them. But they need to do better in communicating how exactly these monies are spent. We're talking about hundreds or millions rather of dollars here, US dollars here. So Nigerians need to know better what these monies are being spent on. We need to communicate it better to Nigerians. They want to see transparency and accountability in terms of this spendings of these monies. And it also begs the question of the kind of institutions that we have. I mean, yesterday we gave it a mention how weak some of our institutions are, and how we don't have institutions that can even question the government, for instance, to say, look, this is the fifth looted whatever recovery you are having. How come it's still going into, and so we don't have such institutions and all of that. The leading institutions we have, the EFCC and ICPC, for instance, we know how the chairman of such commissions are being appointed, and who controls what, or who, as the saying goes, he who pays the piper dictates the tune. So, they can't really question some of these things because, of course, they were appointed, so they can be fired any day, any time. So we need to improve on that. We need to also improve on our value systems as a country. I remember that when this country was created, there were some core values that made us what we are. I'm not sure if we remind ourselves of some of those core values.
Remind who?
Well, our leaders should. Nigerians should. The followers as well. While we blame the leaders, or while we're always in a hurry to blame the leaders, Nigerians as well, followers too, we need to take responsibility as well. Because when you become a governor, and I'm your cousin, I expect that as a governor, you should solve all my problems. And so it's also a big challenge for us here, where someone occupies an office, and there's so much demand or demands, a wide range of demands or a series of demands from people who are affiliated with that person. That's when you hear that, oh, this person is my cousin's mother, nephew. That is when everybody wants to. So our value systems too, our morals as a country, we also need to work on that. I'm saying that in terms of how we always want to gather wealth and money for ourselves. I mean, sometimes it's as if
it's robbing the country of a lot.
Absolutely,
we can see that there are decays in certain areas. We see the situation of the economy as we speak. If the right foundation had been laid, I believe we may not find ourselves where we are today. If people were not looting the government, if there was corruption at the barest minimum, so to speak, certain things will not be happening where we find ourselves today with regards to economy. A lot of things will still be in place. We see other countries. Nigeria is not the only country fighting inflation. There's the inflation crisis is across the it's everywhere.
In the UK.
But that hasn't grounded the system to the level that we find ourselves in Nigeria, where a lot of persons are struggling to have food on their table on a daily basis. Transparency is key for me with the repatriation of these funds. If government is saying that they are going to use it for key infrastructural projects, we need to understand how these monies are being spent so Nigerians can have confidence in the government. It is very, very important. We have to leave the conversation here now, Kelly, because of time. But I believe that the message has been sent home. Transparency in how we spend this money, and such that there will not be a relooting of this loot being repatriated.